saying that they're looking into this. They're investigating a potential second device. What are you seeing happening from where you're at? You're close to that location.
I am very close to the location. I'm actually just 1 block away. I can see that they are definitely trying to get people away from this intersection of 27th and 6th Avenue where I'm standing. I believe it's 7th where this is unfolding. But as you can probably hear, there are now first responders coming to the scene. They have everything gated off, so you could tell that for a while now they've at least expected that something could be unfolding here because they're not allowing anybody into the area. I'm seeing residents who may reside in some of these buildings where they're investigating this kind of being denied entry into it, period, regardless if they live there or not. But this is happening so close to where the first blast was reported. It's just a sea of red as you look down 6th and 7th Avenues right now. But yeah, this is definitely unfolding. You can see people arriving to the scene. But in terms of any activity, any sort of smoke, nothing like that as of right now.
Josh, I want you to stand by. We now have Mayor Bill de Blasio of New York City about to speak. We also have the police commissioner by his side. Let's listen in.
I want to go over a couple of key points, and you're going to hear from NYPD Commissioner James O'Neill, Fire Commissioner Dan Nigro. And we'll be joined momentarily by FBI Assistant Director Bill Sweeney, who will be available for questions. Tonight, New York City experienced a very serious incident. All elements of our first responders have been a part of the operation here, NYPD, FDNY, Office of Emergency Management, obviously our federal partners, FBI and others working with us. So all hands are on deck. Injuries are significant. You'll hear from Commissioner Nigro on the details of the injuries. But at this point, we can confirm that none of those injured are likely to die. We also want to be upfront saying that there is no evidence at this point of a terror connection to this incident. This is preliminary information. It's something we will be investigating very carefully, but there is no evidence at this point of a terror connection. I also want to affirm that based on what we know at this hour, there is no specific connection to the incident in New Jersey. It is, again, too early to say anything definitive on those questions, but there's no specific evidence of a connection at this point. I want to say more broadly, there is no specific and credible threat against New York City at this point in time from any terror organization. So as we are analyzing what happened here, we are doing it against the backdrop, but we have no credible and specific threat at this moment. But we do want to be very clear. The early indications, the initial indications is this was an intentional act. We're going to have a lot more to say in the coming hours as we have more detailed analysis, but we believe at this point in time this was an intentional act. I want to assure all New Yorkers that the NYPD and all other agencies are at full alert and that our anti-terror capacity in particular is at full alert, our critical response command and our other key units, our strategic response group, our emergency services unit, all are on alert and all are dealing with this situation and being vigilant all over the city at this point in time. And we have in this city the most advanced anti-terror capacity of any city in this country, and obviously the largest police force of any city in the country, all ready to ensure our safety. Now, I want to be clear, whatever the cause, whatever the intention here, New Yorkers will not be intimidated. We are not going to let anyone change who we are or how we go about our lives. And we have the best police force in the country and a number of other key agencies, FDNY, OEM, etc., making sure we will be safe. We are at this point, of course, tracing every lead and every potential. It's too early to give you any details of the investigation because it has just begun over the last few hours. I want to say up front, we're not going to go into a lot of detail about what we're finding so far in the investigation. That will take certainly more hours before we can give you more. But we do want to urge all New Yorkers, anyone who may have information related to this incident, anyone who is an eyewitness, anyone who may have video, the NYPD needs that. Please reach out immediately if you have any information that we can use. Call 1-800-577-TIPS. 1-800-577-TIPS if you have any pertinent information. Finally, a second site as we speak is being treated by the NYPD. It is 27th Street between 6th and 7th Avenues. There's an investigation underway and a substantial NYPD presence on that street, and that street has been cleared as this investigation continues. With that, I want to turn it over to Commissioner James O'Neill.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So at approximately 8:30 this evening, officers from the 10th Precinct were on patrol driving westbound on West 23rd Street when they witnessed a large explosion in front of 131 West 23rd Street. The officers immediately called for additional units and ambulances. The NYPD bomb squad and the FBI Joint Terrorist Task Force were requested to respond. As of this time, the exact cause of the explosion has not been determined. Investigation into this incident is active, and at this time, an extensive search is being conducted. As the mayor spoke, there's an ongoing situation on 27th Street right now. The area around the explosion site is being treated as a crime scene. As of this time, there is no evidence to indicate that this explosion is a result of any natural gas cause. Again, the exact nature and cause of this explosion has not yet been determined. As of the most recent information, there have been 29 injuries reported. One of these injuries may be considered serious, and Commissioner Nigro will talk about that in a couple of minutes. The fire department is currently assessing the extent of any possible structural damage resulting from this explosion. And as further information is developed, we will provide it and give you updates. Commissioner Nigro?
Well, our units heard this actually from their locations and joined the NYPD members on the scene, searched the buildings that were affected, and as Commissioner O'Neill said, there were 29 injuries here, one considered serious. 24 of these people have been transported to area hospitals with various degrees of scrapes, abrasions from glass, from metal. Thankfully, none of these are life-threatening injuries, and the 24 patients that have been removed are not in a serious condition, other than the one patient with a puncture.
Thank you very much, Commissioner. Okay, we will take your questions
Was
now.
there a bomb in a dumpster, Mr. Mayor?
Again, it's too early to determine specifically what the incident was caused by. What we're telling you this evening is we believe it was intentional. A full investigation is underway. As soon as we're able to determine what specifically caused this explosion, we're going to report that to you.
Was there a tanker?
Go ahead, your call.
Josh. Thank you. Mayor, you said that you don't believe at this point that there's a nexus to terrorism. Can you elaborate a little bit on what makes you think that?
Very broadly, I'm going to stay broad on that point, and Commissioner O'Neill will jump in at any point. Because we have no credible and specific threat, because there is nothing specifically linking what we've seen so far of this site to anything that suggests terrorism. But it's preliminary information. We just want to assure New Yorkers, based on what we know at this moment, we do not see a link to terrorism. This is going to be an ongoing investigation.
Right over here. Sir, do we see any connection between the timing of this incident on the United Nations General Assembly?
It's too early to say.
Right over here. Right over here. Right over here to the left.
Mr. Mayor, if the exposure at least was outside on the street, or did it come from inside a building? Do we know?
Yeah, sure. Right now, preliminarily, it appears that the explosion was outside on the street. And if anyone's got it, hold on one second. Hold on. Right now, it appears that the explosion took place outside on the street. And if anybody's got any information, they need to call 1-800-577-TIPS. Aaron Katersky. Hold on. Aaron Katersky.
Commissioner, you have this on video. What does the surveillance video show you, and how does it inform what you're telling us to see?
We do have video, and we see the explosion, and we're going to use that to help us in our investigation. Thanks.
Are people still evacuated from buildings, or people allowed back in? It was in front of a building for the blind, right?
Yeah, McGee, at this point, there's no need to evacuate anybody from that building. Right? And we do have traffic. We do have streets closed from 14th to 32nd Street, from 5th to 8th, and that's just for traffic reasons.
Commissioner, how about the second possible IED that was found between 6th and 7th?
On 27th Street, we're still investigating that right now.
It was an IED then?
Miles, right over here, Miles.
Can you talk about, I know you've got significant surveillance video that you've got to bring over. Can you talk about anything you may see of anybody walking away from where this incident happened? Looking at anybody specifically yet?
Yeah, at this point, we are not, and we are in the process of collecting more video.
Right here.
Is there any evidence that it is an IED? What informs you that it is that it was an IED?
You're going to have to get the helicopter. You're going to have to speak up a little bit.
Informs you that it was an IED?
No, we haven't said that, right? We said that so far at this point in the investigation wasn't caused by natural gas. And we do think it was an intentional act, but this is all part of the investigation.
Right here. Were they pipe bombs? Like the one in New Jersey, pipe bombs? What kind of device?
It's too early to tell in the investigation. This happened about less than 3 hours ago.
We have reports of a suspect being questioned around 27th Street. Can you confirm that anyone's been arrested or not in this incident?
As far as I know right now, no one. We're actively investigating the secondary device on 27th.
Take a couple more questions here. Right here.
Is there some sort of device? What kind of object did you detect or see or witness or find?
No, we're not going to go into that right now. As I said, we're in the very early stages of investigation.
Hold on, Lester.
The 27th Street location, it seems like that would have been outside the area you initially secured. So what's the assessment of the overall area? Are these street corners clear?
Lester, that's the process, right? We have the initial location, and part of what we do, we look for secondary devices. We start where the incident happens. We move north, south, east, and west as far as we need to.
That's still happening?
One more question. One more question. We'll come back and update you. Right here.
We spoke to that.
Was it a trash can, a dumpster? What actually exploded?
We're still in the process of trying to figure out where the initial part of the explosion was.
Mr. Mayor,
Thank you. We'll be back. We'll be back to update you. We'll be back to update you.
Wait, have you placed the city on alert?
We'll be back to update you.
There you heard it, about 20 minutes, an update right now. The amount of information provided indicative of the stage of this investigation. We had the fire commissioner. We also had the police commissioner and the mayor of New York City all speaking. The key takeaways from the 20 minutes in the data is there is, at this moment, no credible or specific information that shows that there is a terror connection. No credible or specific information that's coming from Mayor de Blasio that it is related to an incident that happened in New Jersey earlier today, and he was quick to make those 2 points. Also, the number of injuries. What is new this hour is now that we are hearing there are 29 injured, and they are saying that none of them, they believe, will result in a fatality. That is the good news, although Mayor de Blasio did say that one of those injuries was more than minor. So this is the pieces of information that have come in so far. Of note, former ATF agent Jim Kavanaugh still with us. We have all these pieces of information. They're basically saying, in so many words here, as much as they can tell us without revealing the process here, Jim, that the information related to this investigation so far, it does not show that it is of, if you will, high alert. However, there is the question of this being intentional. That's what they said. It was an intentional act. What do you make of the amount of data that they gave to us in this news briefing, Jim?
The way they come about that, Richard, the bomb investigators, it's basically from the other angle. We call it a negative corpus. So in other words, what they're coming around and saying is we've eliminated a gas leak, we've eliminated, an accidental thing at the building, a transformer, an electrical box, any kind of obvious accidental. We've eliminated anything like lightning striking the dumpster. So it's kind of a negative corpus. All these things are eliminated, yet this dumpster, either inside or immediately outside and next to something, exploded. And so that's why they're saying it's an intentional act. They really don't seem to have answer of exactly what it was made of. I mean,
Right.
the commissioner said it's too early to tell if it was a container. You know, we talk about a pipe bomb. A pipe is just a container for the bomb or the explosive material sometimes. So it's not indicative necessarily of what the explosive filler is. I mean, you could have something as simple as a pyrotechnic fireworks mortar round, like, you know, people shoot off on the 4th of July. It could be lit and thrown into a dumpster like this. You would have exactly this effect. It would be a large explosion. It would reverberate. It would mangle the dumpster. It would hurt people, and it would be, you know, simply an item like that somebody threw in there, not necessarily a terrorist. And I think that's what they're telling us here. They don't have all those answers yet.
Right.
They're trying to put that together. They're not exactly sure, but they're pretty sure it's not accidental. Now they got to find out what exactly is it.
And one of the items here also here, Jim, is that which was provided by the fire commissioner, and very quietly and at the end of one of his answers, there was a puncture wound related to those who were injured. We also learned that they are reviewing video from surveillance cameras, and they're still in the process of going through that. Comment, if you can, about the puncture wound. Secondly, this surveillance video, how long will it take, if you will, for them to go through all of it?
Well, it's probably going to depend on, you know, just the cameras that the police department controls. Then there'll be cameras maybe that merchants control along the street. Some of that may take a little longer. And it is usually a slow walk going through video. But they'll start to narrow that time. You know, this could be someone who lit a fuse and threw a device in there. And so it could be pretty close in time to the blast. It doesn't mean it has to have been set on a timer, which is likely similar to the Jersey Shore bomb.
Right.
I mean, it could have been on a timer, but it could also be on just a lit fuse. As far as the fragmentation injury, that's very consistent when you look at the picture of this trash bin. You can see the metal rolled back. You can see metal rolled back on the bin. So when the explosion occurs, small latches or pieces of metal, the spring on the hinge that holds the top of the dumpster on, any of this stuff could fly off and fly into the face of a pedestrian. So that's likely the injury, something flying off the dumpster.
And again, we don't know. They have not confirmed for us as of yet, Jim, this dumpster. They have confirmed, though, that there was an intentional act and an explosion. They'll be perhaps giving us more specific information about what was related to specifically this garbage dumpster, though, been part of the story with us over the last 3 hours. Jim, stand by, and thank you for giving us that perspective on the latest data coming from the news briefing.